If the news has felt like too much lately, too long, too loud, too overwhelming, this is your sign to do it differently this new year. I'm Erica Mandy, host of the Newsworthy Podcast. Each weekday, I break down the day's top stories in less than 15 minutes, giving you the facts, multiple perspectives, and even some lighter conversation starters, so you're not bogged down by arguing pundits or alarmist clickbait. It's a simple, efficient way to stay informed, feel confident, and move on with your day. Search The Newsworthy wherever you're listening to this podcast and follow or subscribe to The Newsworthy today.
I don't pay you to think. Today, we're tackling a terrible leadership example that we may have all seen or experienced firsthand. That's that boss who says with their actions or their words, I don't pay you to think. But here's the truth. Leadership is not about silencing people. It's about unlocking their potential. When you stifle thinking, you stunt action, innovation, and growth. And so in this episode today, we're going to explore why thinking matters, how to lead differently, and how action-driven, people-centered leadership creates exponential results. Hey, welcome back, Northbound. We are talking about this toxic boss mentality today. It's this idea that comes across from the boss that tells you and the people they lead that they don't pay them to think, that they are above them. And this is very harmful. While it does probably lead to short-term compliance, it equals long-term stagnation. It kills initiative and engagement and trust. Now, here's the thing. This toxic mentality actually rarely manifests itself through words. The words, I don't pay you to think, maybe you've heard those in the workplace, maybe you haven't, but it's usually much more subtle, and usually it is spoken through body language. I had a boss once who would openly roll his eyes at people when they brought up ideas, and if he didn't like you, it was even worse. You could say good morning to him, he would scoff openly in your face. This ended all contribution from the team across the board. And I have worked for several other people over the years who routinely cut others down. All of this ended up in organizational silence. And so what I want to do is when we're talking about a toxic boss, I want to show how or convey here that creates silence. Sometimes we're like, oh, if everything's quiet, then things are going well. But that's not necessarily true. And a toxic environment will create silence because people aren't free to speak up or to be who they are. And there's a cost to this silence for your organization. Let's go into that. One of the costs of that silence is that employees stop having ideas. They stop contributing, and teams become passive and reactive instead of proactive. And this leads to missed opportunities and slowed growth within your team. 2026, we're at the beginning of this year. This is the year of action. This is the year to start moving towards those goals and missions that you have for your team. And you're not going to do it by silencing people. So what good leaders do instead, they encourage independent thinking and problem solving, and they empower their teams to take ownership of processes. AI, applications, program, tools that support you are all not a replacement for judgment. So if 2026 is the year of action, what does that look like? What does action-oriented leadership look like? It means that you are going to lead by example. You're going to take bold action and make decisions transparently. You're going to give clear goals, but then allow autonomy in the execution. And you're going to celebrate both learning from mistakes and successes. Caveat here, we're not going to celebrate willful neglect. That's not a mistake. So when you have someone who just refuses to maybe follow specific safety requirements or something like that, that's not a mistake. That's when you're going to give pointed constructive feedback like you are not meeting expectations. But when people make a mistake and it's a learning opportunity, that is when you celebrate those as far as what you learned, and then you celebrate when it gets fixed. So celebrating mistakes and successes is important for developing people. And that's why I say that here. Okay. Here are some key takeaways today. Thinking should be encouraged. You, as the leader, must protect it and cultivate it. And toxic leadership may get compliance, but it will kill growth. People-centered leadership drives innovation, action, and results. And while applications and technology and AI can all help with tasks, it's human thinking that is ultimately irreplaceable. One of the things I love about adventure, and I love about backpacking and the backcountry and just being out in nature, is that it's an even playing field. Nature does not care about your status in society. The trees, the mountains, the rocks, the animals, none of it gives you glory. And yet, how fulfilled do we feel when we are out in God's creation? It's amazing. And none of it is giving us glory. Why? Is it that we really, really want all the glory? We think we do. And in our society, we think so, or at least sometimes we act that way. And so that's something that I want to help you do here at Northbound. And that is to understand who we are and how we come across. That toxic boss who says, I don't pay you to think, or who rolls his eyes or scoffs or whatever it is that he's doing to create that toxic environment. Like I said, it might be way more subtle than that. And it's important that we evaluate ourselves. How do I come across? When I'm sitting at that table, how do I come across to the people I lead? If you hear yourself or someone else say, I don't pay you to think, stop, step back, and ask, how could we encourage thinking, creativity, and action instead? Because leadership is not about control, it's about unleashing potential. You want to give your people the space to think, act, and grow. And then you're going to watch your team and your business and your impact expand exponentially. Have you ever been shut down? I want you to comment below if this resonated with you today. Remember that you have every right to think and should never accept a boss that shuts you down. Hey, thanks everybody for tuning into Northbound today. I'm honored to have you here, and I want to walk with you in leadership. Contact me directly at chris@go-northbound.com. All right, take care. You just listened to another episode from the Northbound Podcast. Thank you for tuning in today. I hope you are encouraged and empowered in leadership. Go lead boldly and humbly. And remember our vision. Elevate your team through Christ-centered leadership. If you want to be a part of our community, just go to go-northbound.com and follow the link and come join us. Follow along with courses and live streams and chats, and maybe even join us for an adventure. We'd love to have you. All of those links are in the description below. Thank you again for tuning in. It's been a pleasure. See ya.